Hello and welcome to the Freedom Frequency Podcast. I'm your host, Kaya, energy healer, psychic channel, and spiritual mentor for women who are ready to ditch the spiritual rulebook, release the pressure and overwhelm, and let go of all that comparison that makes you feel like what you're doing isn't enough. In this podcast, I'm going to share bits of my journey with you, as well as my wisdom and knowledge to show you that spirituality gets to be something that works for you and not something that you work for. Now let's dive into today's episode. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast. Today I am going to share a little bit about my own journey with energy healing from the perspective of the recipient, and then also how I got into energy healing as well. I feel like this is a common question that I get on Instagram, that I get from some of my clients, where they ask, like, how did you get started as an energy healer? And to fully answer this, it would require me to, but I do feel like I want to share the background of how I even discovered energy healing and my whole journey with the modality as a whole. So I will try to keep it short and sweet, as per usual with my podcast. I like to keep these bite-sized for you. So let's just hit the ground running. So energy healing was something that I feel like I'd known about for the majority of my life, especially like Reiki and stuff. Like, I feel like it's something I kind of knew about, but also at the same time, it was very taboo in my world. Like, if you've listened to my podcast or just know me in general, you might know that I come from a Christian background, and my family was and is Christian. I was raised in a Christian household from like maybe grade 2 onward. And even before that, actually, my parents were Christian. We just didn't really like go to church or anything, but it was very taboo. Anything to do with like, spirituality, woo-woo stuff, and energy healing was included in that. And back in the beginning of my journey, the only energy healing modality I actually knew about was Reiki. Like, I thought that was kind of like the only one. And yeah, like, I didn't really know much about it. I didn't know anyone who did it. I didn't know anything beyond the fact that it was like taboo, essentially. My first exposure to energy healing was Reiki. I made a friend, I want to say like in my early 20s, who was a Reiki master. She was a coworker, at a retail store that I worked at. And it was a very I feel like I met her at a very dark time in my life. Like, my husband and I were going through a lot of financial troubles, just trying to get our bearings after paying off some debt and things. And we were trying to get on our feet and kind of struggling with that. Which I won't dive too deep into. There's other podcast episodes with more of my story. But I met her at a job I was working at, and we would often work evenings together. So at this job, I was like a supervisor, key holder there. So I would close the store and lock it up and things. And she often had an evening shift with me. So it was a quiet maternity store, maternity clothes. So we honestly didn't get very many customers. This whole chain of stores actually is closed now. They closed down, I think, because it's just such a niche market around here, and people prefer to buy online, whatever. Anyway, so it was a very quiet store, and we would have a lot of evenings where we worked together for hours, where we'd have 1 or 2 people come in and very briefly usually. So we had a lot of time in our downtime to chat. And so I really got to know her. And one of the things that she shared with me is that, she was very spiritual and on a spiritual awakening journey, and that she was a Reiki master and she did energy healing. And this was the first time that I actually felt comfortable to explore and ask somebody questions about it. It's the first time that I knew somebody personally who was experienced in this world and experienced with healing and spirituality and things like that. She was a wealth of knowledge. And even though at that time I still considered myself to be a Christian, and I still thought it was kind of taboo, I was very curious anyway. I'd always been very curious about this kind of thing. So I would ask her all kinds of questions, and I would ask her all about her energy healing and how she did it. And she would tell me how she like sends energy healing to like her friend in Alberta, which we live in Ontario. So it's like a few provinces away. And I was like, that's so cool. Like, how does that work? And a part of me like didn't really believe it. Like a part of me was like, okay, this is kind of like woo woo. Like there's no way that works. Like that's not science. Like, you know what I mean? And I didn't really believe it, but I was still so intrigued by her. And so, yeah, like our journey just kind of continued through that. And I ended up leaving that job. But her and I actually still keep in touch. And I actually do go and see her sometimes for Reiki and for other things because she has expanded into doing some more like spa services, like massages and things like that. So sometimes I go and like catch up and receive that from her. So that was probably the first person on my journey that really influenced me in this. And from there, I became like, honestly, just more curious about the whole thing. And I didn't really decide to explore anything until much later down the line, a couple years later, that I was going through another kind of darker time in my life where my mom was really sick. Like we knew she was going to pass away. Like things weren't looking good. They were heading downhill. It was so stressful. Like my husband and I are still getting back on our feet financially. And like I was at a job I didn't really love, not knowing where my career was going. Like there's just a lot of like question marks in my life and a lot of just searching for deeper meaning. And through this time and through the time where my mom was sick and she was passing, and after she passed, it was a very like very stressful and very hard time for me, obviously. And in this time I was really seeking like I don't know the word for it. Like I want to say support, but it's almost like I was seeking like a deeper connection to something that could help me to feel better, if that makes sense. Like at that time I still considered myself to be a Christian, and I was like, I just am not finding the comfort I need in prayer and in talking to God and in Christianity and reading my Bible. Like it's just like I was reading all these things, like, you know, I don't know, I can't even think of anything anymore, but just like, you know, Bible verses that are like comforting and things like that. And I was like, this isn't helping. Like it isn't helping. Like this is not what I'm looking for. I need a different type of healing. And this was like a very desperate time in my life in general. And at that time, I actually had some people that I like followed on social media. And there's one woman that I follow, and she like started out doing kind of like health and wellness, like recipes. And that's when why I started following her back then, because I was into that space as well. If you know my story, then I started following her for like her recipes and her like wellness stuff and, you know, whatever. And she actually was transitioning into like energy healing work and doing this kind of more like holistic healing kind of work. And I was like, I don't know, like maybe I'll try a session. Like maybe I'll just try a session with her. I'd never done an energy healing session. Like I've never received a session at all. And I didn't really know what it was all about. And like it was a virtual session. I was kind of like, I don't know, like, is that going to work kind of thing? Like, how does that work? And I didn't really understand it. And to be honest, like, I think there was a big part of me that felt like I didn't know if it was going to work, and I didn't know if it was going to do anything, but I was like so desperate for help and so desperate for healing that I decided to do it anyway. And I booked the session with her. It was an online via Zoom. And I remember during the entire healing, I just felt so awkward. Like we were on camera together, and I'm sure she wasn't looking. Like I'm sure her eyes were closed and she was doing her thing, and like, you know, she doesn't care anyway. But I remember feeling like I need to stay so still. I'm sitting here with my eyes closed and I don't know what to do. I've never done this before, and I just felt so awkward. But at the end of the session, she shared some like channeled messages type things that came through, and a lot of them did resonate. And as my story continued to unfold, I look back at that session now, and a lot of things that she said, you know, did manifest and did come true and do resonate and things like that. But it was definitely like this weird feeling where I was like, I feel like that kind of helped. Like it definitely, like I felt better after the session. I definitely felt like it was really cool, the messages she shared with me. But I also felt like I don't know, like I wasn't convinced. Like I was like, did it work? Like I don't know, like I was still in my own little bubble, and like, you know, feeling like it was wrong to do and like, I don't know if I do it again kind of thing. And long story short, flash forward, I ended up doing more energy healing sessions, not with her, but with another healer that I found and I resonated with a little bit more. I did lots of sessions with her, and then that friend that I had from the store, I did some with her in person. And over time, it became one of my favorite modalities to receive and one of my favorite modalities to use for healing. And I've talked about this, I think, in another recent episode about how in the beginning I was very sporadic with my healing. I'd wait till I was in a desperate place and I would reach out for a healing session and it would kind of like, make me feel good for now, but then I would fall back into a place where I felt desperate again and booked another session. And I never really stayed consistent with it, which is a whole nother conversation because I have a previous podcast episode around that entire topic and how the consistency was really supportive for me once I started to do that and started to receive the consistent healing. But in these healings that I started doing, I started to realize like how powerful this modality was and how like there was so long that I didn't believe in it, that I didn't believe in energy healing at all. And I didn't believe that it could be effective over Zoom or even my most recent healer and I say my healer, the one I work with almost exclusively now, we don't even do a Zoom call anymore. We just pick a time. We're in different countries and we just pick a time and that's it. And we just pop in Voxer and she'll say, starting now. And I'm already laying down and receiving and enjoying. And then afterwards, she'll send me some channeled messages that came through in our Voxer chat. So it's not even a call anymore. And there's a long time where I didn't really believe that that would work, but now I have proof, and I have proof that it has been working for me, and it's one of my favorite modalities to receive. And in noticing this and how much it changed my life, and also just from intuitive nudges, I felt like I want to do this too. I want to perform this service for others. And part of this was because obviously I saw the impact and wanted to share the impact and create impact myself. But the other part of it was just a calling to it, right? I think oftentimes most healers, like, I don't know if you're a healer or if you resonate with this at all, but most healers, we just feel called to it, and we all have our different paths here, and that was mine, where I just kind of, it was taboo, and I started dabbling in it and getting curious and receiving and finding the healer that works for me. And so that's when I really knew that I wanted to do this too. And a big question that I get that I'll answer here as well is that a lot of people wonder, like, do I do Reiki? Like, what kind of energy do I use? And this was a big part of my journey too, because for a long time then I felt like I want to do this. Like, I want to have a business where I do energy healing and work with women and do energy healing virtually and things like that. And I dreamed of my membership for the longest time too. That was like, it was like my first offer is going to be a healing membership that people can receive consistently. And that is what came into fruition for me and is my most successful offer and my favorite space. So, oh my gosh, I went off on a tangent. Now I can't remember where I was going with this, but anyway, so yeah, I don't do Reiki, to answer that question. And my journey to that was knowing that I wanted to create this business and to, create impact through energy healing and be an energy healer myself. The big question mark for me then was, okay, like, am I going to get like certified in Reiki? And I knew there were some other modalities from different pages I follow where they attune you to certain frequencies and energy modalities. And I was kind of like, I don't know what to do. And to be honest, I stood a long time in this like waiting game, like unsure, like it just, nothing quite felt right. Like I would see opportunities for like Reiki school or whatever you want to call it, like to learn Reiki. And I would think like, I don't know, like, should I do it? Like, should I invest in it? Like, and it just never felt right. It never felt right financially, but it also never felt right just because like of an intuitive feeling, if that makes sense. And it wasn't until I was talking to my healer, the one that I see for energy healing, and I was sharing this with her, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get like attuned to Reiki or like, these other modalities that I know. And she actually channeled for me and she was like, no, like you're not going to get attuned to any of those. And that's why you feel like resistance towards doing it and to signing up and things like that, even though you've had opportunity. And what ended up happening is that I'm attuned to like my own energy. So this is where we're going to get real woo. Buckle up, people. Buckle up. This is going to get real woo. So, this is something that I intuitively felt and I shared with her, and then she confirmed through her own channel as well, is that I've actually been an energy healer in past lifetimes in other places, but also on Earth as well. And in these past lifetimes, I always use the same like frequency, the same energy that I channel through for the healing and activation. And this energy is very unique to me, and it's something that like I have attuned to, but it's not something that I think I will, from what I see now, it's not something I think I would ever attune other people to. Because I know some different healers will download their own frequency that they're meant to share with others. I don't feel that intuitively for me right now, but I definitely do see myself helping others to do what I did and to attune to their own frequency and their own energy. And those who are meant to do this, I feel will be called towards working with me, and we'll obviously have a soul contract for this. But I don't see myself ever having anything like a Reiki school. But the energy that I work with is very resonant on the frequencies of abundance, love, and purity. So like the feeling of the energy in your body feels like this overflowing abundance and love of just like this pure source. And so I was attuned to this energy not by my healer and my mentor, but actually from angels, like from angels who have been with me in other reincarnations and have come to help me again in this lifetime. And so all I did was call upon them and say like, okay, I'm ready to start learning this again. I'm ready for this physical vessel that I've chosen to live in here on earth to start learning this frequency and this healing modality that I've been using for many lifetimes before. And so I know it sounds super woo, but that's my story, and that's how it all came to be for me. And my spiritual mentor really just held space for me as I went through my own process with it. And I know that that's something that I will be working on as well with one-to-one clients, and holding space for them as they attune to their own frequencies and their own energies and really start to learn how to use them in this lifetime on themselves and then also on others as well. Because there's definitely a process where I only did the energy healing on myself for a little while before I started offering some free sessions and tried to practice with other people and receive feedback before then sharing it in my membership, where I just openly share it with a group and do one-to-one sessions and things like that now. And yeah, so that's my story on energy healing as a modality, how it came into my life, how I got to doing it myself, not just receiving, but also providing it as a service for others. So if you are interested in receiving energy healing from me, there are multiple ways to work with me, whether it is, I don't do one-to-one energy healing sessions anymore as single one-off sessions, but you can buy a bundle package from me. I like to make sure that people have consistent healing, because from what I learned in my own experience is that having a one-off session can be great, but I believe there's a lot more power in consistent healing and having multiple sessions, kind of like going to the gym once versus going multiple times. So you can buy a bundle from me and have some consistent sessions. There's one-to-one packages that I have that have healing, support, and other elements we can tie in. Obviously, my healing membership for a monthly group energy healing session. And I always have some one-off fun offers. So right now I have the 2024 manifestation party in December, where we will be doing some energy healing amongst other manifestation fun together on a Zoom party. And then, of course, if you're looking to go through a similar journey to me where you feel called to activate your own energy, whether it's for yourself or whether it's for you to learn to share with others and learn to be of service and impact through being an energy healer, then I would love to support you in that as well through my spiritual mentorship, which is one-to-one packages only. So if any of that resonates with you, I'll drop some links below. You can also send me a message on Instagram where we can kind of chat out and have a no pressure conversation about what might be the best fit for you based on what you're looking for. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to supporting you and creating more impact through my work. And thank you so much for listening to this podcast, because that helps me to get my message out as well. If you feel called, I would love for you to leave a review on my podcast. It helps me to get my message out further. I also love to hear from you guys as well. If you send me messages that you're tuning in, what resonated for you, any questions you have, it helps me to create more content, but also I just love the feedback. So thank you again so much, and I will catch you on the next one.